Hello, this video is going to show you quickly how to do today's assignment and how to use the graph so that today's assignment will be relatively easy. There's two things you're going to have. These are both on Google Classroom. One is, well, actually, this one's not on Google Classroom. This is going to be handed to you. You're going to fill this out with a pencil. So this is basically a trip analysis. So we've got some travelers, Michael and John and Peter and Caroline, and they all went on a trip to Amarillo. So your job is to use the graph that's provided, that is linked in Google Classroom, to detail their average speed for every segment of their trip, and then their total average speed for the total trip to Amarillo. So for this assignment, I've started Michael's for you. I've got all the start and end times for each segment, and I even did a couple calculations to show you how to do it. For the other travelers, John, Peter, and Caroline, I didn't do anything except for put the total 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., the bottom. This is the total time from the start to the finish. You need to fill out all of this information for the segments. If you're not sure how to do this, you would want to use Michael's up here as a guide to see how I got the numbers to fill out those travel segments. Also, it's very important to answer the last final two questions at the end once you have completed these charts. So here's how you fill out these charts. We're going to use the website, which has an embedded distance and time graph. It says Fort Worth to Amarillo. And on here, I've got the miles traveled, and I have the time. And this says here, this is the time. Afternoon is over here. Evening is over here, which means this is noon, 12 p.m. And this is midnight, 12 a.m. And so that's the time. And this is a distance and time graph showing Michael, John, Peter, and Caroline traveling to Amarillo. And they go at different speeds. Sometimes they stop. Sometimes they drive pretty quick. Sometimes they go pretty slow. Sometimes they don't drive at all, but they go pretty quick. And you'll see what I mean by that when you do this assignment. So you are going to detail each part of their trip. Here's how you use this graph. First, notice that there's some dots on the graph. Anytime I field over a dot, it gives me information. This one says 4 o'clock, 70. This one up here says 5 o'clock, 270. This one here says 9 o'clock, 280. This one here says 10 o'clock, 160. All of these dots show you two things. They show you the time, and they show you the total distance traveled. So this one here for John is 10 p.m. He's gone 160 miles. So it's 10 p.m., and he's gone 160 miles. This is important because if I go to this dot, at 9 p.m., he had gone 160 miles, which means that for this hour between 9 and 10, he didn't go any miles, so his average speed would be 0 because he didn't go anywhere. So this is like a little break that John took. And then from 8 to 9, he went from 80 miles to 160, which is 80 miles in 1 hour. That would be 80 miles per hour. Now, here's the best way to use this graph. Before you start hovering over all the dots, click on the people that you want to hide. So I'm going to hide John, Peter, and Caroline. And that leaves just Michael. Now, when I want to do John, I'll open up John and hide Michael. So I can look at each line independently. It just makes it a lot easier to use this graph this way. So here's Michael. And I've got at noon, I'm at 0. So 12 is 0. And then at 1 o'clock, 10 miles. Haven't gone very far. Then the next dot is at 3 o'clock, also 10 miles. Then at 4 o'clock, it's at 30. So I've gone from 10 miles to 30 miles from 3 to 4. So that would be 20 miles. And then from 4 to 5, I'm still at 30 miles, so that's not very far. And then from 5 to 6, I'm at 40 miles. And then from 6 to 7, no, I'm sorry, 6 to 9, that's 280 miles. So that's a long way. I went from 40 miles to 280 miles, which is a total distance of 240 miles in 3 hours. And then from 9 to 10, I went an additional 10 miles. And then from 10 to 12, I went 50 miles, 290 to 340. So I can see the distance traveled on each segment by hovering over these different parts of this line. So here's how I filled out the chart. I went ahead and put the travel segment times in already for you. So from 12 to 1, I put 10 miles. That was a total distance traveled in that segment. And the average speed, if I go 10 miles in 1 hour, that's 1 hour time, the average speed is 10 miles per hour because it's distance, 10 miles, divided by time, which is 1 hour. The 12 to 1 is 1 hour. That would be 10 miles per hour. Then from 1 to 3, if we look at the graph, 1 to 3, I went 10 miles, 10 miles. I went 0 miles. I didn't go anywhere. So for this 2-hour period of time, 0 divided by 2 is 0. And that's why my average speed is 0, because I traveled 0 miles. The average speed is 0. I didn't move. Then from 3 to 4 on this graph, 3 o'clock I was at 10 miles. 4 o'clock I was at 30. So I went 20 miles in that hour period of time. So then 20 miles, and this is 1 hour. So 20 divided by 1 equals 20 miles per hour. So then for the rest of these, you're going to figure out from 4 to 5. So from 4 o'clock, I'm at 30. 5 o'clock, I'm also at 30, so that's 0 miles. That's 1 hour, so you will put 0 miles per hour. And then from 5 to 6, I only go 10 miles, so you'll figure that out. And then from 6 to 9, that's a 3-hour period of time. You'll see how far I traveled there. And you're going to go down here, and you're going to just enter the distance traveled, and then you're going to figure out how much time was between these times, and then the average speed. And the average speed is the distance traveled divided by the total time, distance divided by time. And then the total average, this right here, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., that's calculated by saying, well, I'm at 12 right here and 12 right there. That is 12 total hours, and I went 340 miles. So it'll be 340 divided by 12. And that would give me my answer, and I'll let you calculate that. So that is how you complete the chart, and that's how you use a graph. And again, when you're done with Michael, just click on John, hide Michael, and you've got that line there. So good luck.